can it pay for itself? That was the question we asked when we were making the decision on building a farm, leaving Washington, D.C., leaving the military, leaving the Department of Defense, and starting a new life, a homestead life, a farmstead life, and a life instead of what we were living. The question was, can it pay for itself?
However, there's more to it than that. Welcome to the Dust or Mud Podcast, episode 53. Today, we're going to dive into homestead profitability. Can it be profitable? Can you make money? I don't know. Maybe. Let's talk about some of the options.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos out there that certainly say that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And in some of our videos, we've gotten comments from folks saying that they want to be able to do that, to make a profitable homestead. So we wanted to talk today about some of what, some of the monies that are going on with us and our farm. What I would encourage you to do is relax, pull up a chair, sit down, and we're just going to have a bit of a conversation today with you and each other on the financial aspects of this type of lifestyle.
So after 25 years of being in the Air Force and retiring from Washington, D.C., working in the Pentagon, we started a farm. And one of the main things was, can it pay for itself? Animals eat a lot. We knew we wanted animals. They eat a lot of food. It takes land to do it. And the main thing was it just needs to be able to pay for itself. Since we have an income from a retirement, we needed to just make sure that it wasn't going to just cost. So we made some decisions on homesteading. We wanted to homestead.
Yeah.
We really kind of did. But why did we want to homestead? Why did we want to farm? Why did we get into this lifestyle? There's more to it than can it make money, but we got to keep the lights on.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more to it for us, I think, man, freedom just really pops for me. Freedom from a lot of things, like freedom from a boss telling you what to do, freedom from traffic.
Yeah. Freedom from city taxes, freedom from four-way stop signs.
Yeah.
Freedom from the busyness of the corporate life. We were just ready to not do that anymore. And that led us down a path of, well, what can we do? Where can we do it? And we wanted to grow some of our own food for the self-sufficiency that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes at a cost.
It does.
And homesteading, farmsteading, insteading. You said insteading a minute ago, and I would like to define, if you're new here, what insteading means. Whenever we started on this journey, we thought we were going to homestead. Then we thought, well, no, we're going to farm. We're going to be farmers. And then it just all kind of, as we thought about it, we homeschool, we grow our own food, we just do this instead of that, and kind of jokingly coined a phrase of insteader. And what does your shirt say? An insteader is one who prefers self-reliance and sustainable living instead of conventional norms. So that kind of defines what we consider ourselves to be an insteader. Maybe you're an insteader as well, in one way or another. Even if you're living in the city way up north, you may very well still be very much an insteader.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Some of the decisions that we make are decisions based instead. Like I think we'll get to the discussion of our cows, and it's hard to be profitable with a small cow herd.
Mm-hmm.
But we're making a decision with them, an instead type decision. Right. So it's not, we're not making a decision based on being a homestead. We're really not making a great decision based on being a farm or a business,
mm-hmm.
but we're making a decision instead of either of those.
Right. Homesteading and farming in general brings with it an absolute allure and a dream of being outside, working with animals, raising animals. We are lambing on this farm right now, and every single day, more lambs are showing up. We have about 65 ewes out there, and they're dropping 1 to 2 3. Did have triplets. They're dropping lambs every day, and we're having so much fun just watching those lambs be born and watching the life come onto the farm, especially in the springtime, and the allure of doing that every day, working together with your family, doing a family farm, and the it the picturesqueness of it. It does exist.
Idyllic.
Yeah, that it does exist.
Yeah.
Uh, it does come with the realities of all of it as well, because the 65 sheep eat a lot of food,
Yeah.
and it costs a significant amount of money to be able to put the food in front of the sheep. So while the dream of it is it's palpable when you have the dream, it's just absolutely palpable. But whenever you are sitting there dreaming about it, the having your bank account statement probably isn't in front of you. And that's a really important aspect of setting up a homestead or a farm, is understanding the reality of the cost of doing it, and doing that in phases or stages as you grow. But the dream is so real, and there's because it's life, because it's life giving, I think, and you're creating your own food, and you're supplying for your family and maybe even a few friends. And so whenever you have that almost tangible dream and feeling going on in your heart, setting aside your heart and bringing your brain into it is really, really important.
Yeah. There's this balance between, can it pay for itself, and there's more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think if you go too far down either road, you end up not going off the deep end, but like you get really out of balance.
Mm.
I think if you're focusing completely on profits, then you you're missing out on all of those things that you were just talking about. And if you're thinking about only the animals, and I'm going to sit all day in the middle of the pasture surrounded by my sheep, like, you're going to miss the fact that there's somehow you have to be able to turn on the lights to pay the electric bill.
Right.
I mean, even the places that are completely off grid as far as electricity is concerned, it that's an expensive proposition to get to. Like, okay, we're going to put solar in. I looked at I looked at putting
Yeah.
solar in as a backup for our farm operation here to keep the freezers going, really is what I wanted to do. And the price quote I got, not to run our entire farm, to keep the freezers going, it was going to be somewhere around $30,000 to put some solar panels on top of our barn in order to keep the freezers going. So, like, it's a significant investment
Right.
if you're talking about being off grid, but you still want to have things like freezers.
Freezers. Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think, the play between the two is really important,
Mm-hmm.
between that idyllic lifestyle and there's more to it.
Right.
Or profitability, sorry, really profitability, and there's more to it.
Right.
So, but looking now at profitability, it was one of the things that was very important to us as we got started on this whole thing, as we were making the decision to do this,
Mm-hmm.
was we can't bankrupt the family in order to do a farm, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was part of our decision, and our discussion was, okay, I love this. I love the idea of it. I love every bit of it,
Mhm.
but it it really needs to pay for itself.
Right. And whenever you start looking at it like that, a lot of people have hobby farms, and they are more on the scale of
Well,
having a few animals. Uh,
and a hobby, like by definition, is what? It's something that you pay for,
right, for your
and
entertainment
you get
purposes, sort of.
entertainment or
Mhm.
enjoyment out of it.
Right,
But you're not looking at it to make you a profit.
right.
So people have made a comment to us before about our hobby farm, and
Mm.
it's off-putting. It's like we
I'm
we're
working this thing
yeah
every day
we're
and
working this.
right,
This is not our intention. Is certainly not that this is a hobby farm, but some people do.
right.
And like if you're looking for only that idyllic lifestyle, then I think consider it a hobby farm.
While you or have a town job.
Some way
Some
to
way
keep the
or you
lights on.
have something to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
outside of a
you're
hobby
right.
farm,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
what else? Well, homestead.
Yep, homestead.
I think with a homestead, really where people are focusing is I want to be able to provide for ourselves. I want to be,
I don't wanna work for the man anymore. I don't wanna do the hourly job anymore. I want to be free. I wanna be independent, and I wanna raise my own food, and I wanna do things with my own family and raise them in such a way that they're not a part of that same cultural system and kinda opting out of the workforce and culture. But your electric company probably still just wants money,
yeah,
and it's required.
the realities of it are significant.
Right.
Um, you have to have insurance
Yes.
on your vehicles and
Yeah.
your health.
Right. Yeah,
You
there are requirements.
you have to pay your bills. You have to pay your
Sure.
taxes. There's if you want a phone, like there are just all of
Yeah.
those things, the requirements for life, and you can get it down pretty low, like especially in a place like southern Missouri where the cost of living is low, the taxes are low, the cost of land to get started is low. Like that part of it is, I believe, an important part is finding a way to keep the costs down, to keep so that it, it doesn't cost you so much just to live.
Well, it becomes possible at that point because the lower your cost of living is, the less income and cash dollars are required to make to keep life moving forward. And that then can make it to where a homestead or a small farm can provide for you and put some a little bit of your offset some of your costs for your life.
Yeah, I think it's important though to discuss if you're wanting to try to do this without additional income. That is a difficult proposition that needs some significant thought and planning put into it. If you're still going to have a town job, most folks call it, if you're still having a town job, it's a little bit less, I think, planning intensive for what's involved in order to do this,
Mhm.
because you can find hopefully a job that will pay for your electric bill or whatever bills that you have that are
Right.
recurring. Then if the town job is paying for that, then really you're looking at, can it support itself from a homestead or a farm perspective?
Mhm.
So I think that there's a there's almost a uh, maybe three categories, probably more, I'm sure. But like, you've got the hobby farm in which you're just going to pour money into it.
Mhm.
And then to me, you've got the homestead where you're being self-sufficient and stuff, but you're probably still going to need a job, of
Mhm.
some sort to bring the money in that's going to pay for the kids' new shoes, the the vacation trip, the electricity, like those types of things. And then out here next, there is we want to make a profit.
Mhm.
So to me, I think there's probably three categories. Discussing that homestead one, though, that we would like it to pay for itself, but there's some additional income required.
Required. So what are some of the options for uh, folks? We don't consider ourselves a homestead. I, we are not. We're a farm. We sell food and we have an outside source of income. So we are not a homestead trying to be profitable in that way. I was not ever going to make soap and sell it. You know what? I'm just not that type of person.
But that
Or
is
that
definitely
is such a
a
good way,
viable
a
option.
viable option for people is to make things with your hands. I will tell you, as far as homesteading, hobby farming, or farming in general, this lifestyle of self-sufficiency, you better be a jack of all trades. You know, you really, and you master a few if you can,
Yeah.
but being able to do all of the things that are required on a farm, whether it's, yeah, you have to fix fence and help pull a lamb out of a mama that's struggling, but there's also just the weird things that break or the weird things that need to be done. You have to be able to do everything from fix that fence and the animal husbandry, milk a cow
Yeah.
and all these things, but there's also direct to consumer sales marketing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Advertising,
Advertising
website
and
build.
exactly. All there are a whole manner of this other side of
Yeah.
what are you going to do with it now that you've made this pork chop or this bar of soap or whatever the thing is, and you've got to get out there and create an online business and such as that. So, what are some of the top things? And we would love to hear it in the comments. So many of you either do homestead, dream of homestead, and have these skills. What types of income streams do you have and have you found success with on your own life and in your own homestead, whether it's making soap or have an Etsy shop, things like that, that the other people in the community might benefit from knowing? Also, we're not experts on all of this, but your help and your information to others would be
One
awesome.
of the, I mean, people, a lot of people will say, well, I'm going to have chickens and I'm going to sell eggs.
Yeah,
And that is
sure.
absolutely. We have chickens and we
And we
sell
sell
eggs.
eggs. Hmm.
So, like, got it. The reality of selling a dozen eggs, though, you're going to get 2, 3, maybe $4 for a dozen eggs.
Yeah,
How many dozen eggs do you have to sell to first cover the cost of the chickens and the
right.
feed that the chickens require? And then
Hmm.
on once you've covered the costs, now at $2 a pop, how many dozen eggs are you going to sell in order to try to start offsetting or to make profits?
Right,
Right. So if you can sell your eggs for $4 a dozen, you better have something that is special about your eggs if you're wanting a price like that.
right.
And for us, ours are GMO free. So we pay a premium for our feed
Hmm.
so that we can ask a premium for the eggs by calling them GMO free,
Hmm.
and they're pasture raised.
Hmm.
So they're not kept up in a coop
Right.
and they're not fed just normal feed.
Hmm.
So with those things, now we have the ability to say we want to we want to ask for a higher price for our eggs because the quality of them is higher.
Right.
We have value added by those two things, and then we're able to say we want to ask a little bit more. But still,
Yeah.
you're looking at, $2 a dozen.
Right. There there are items on homesteads and farms that are low cost items.
Yeah.
Vegetables are a low cost item. It's low in and it doesn't bring in a whole lot of money, but it does bring in some. plant starts are a huge thing because
Yeah.
you started with a seed and some dirt and some containers. And that is a great way to boost your income for your homestead. But it's seasonal, right?
Yeah.
And so things are seasonal, and
Even eggs.
eggs are seasonal. And so you have the thought, think about things like stacking, kind of like we have done. We have eggs and we have milk and we have pork and we have chicken and lamb. All of these are sort of stacked through the year because we know we don't always have milk and we don't always have eggs. But if we kind of stack and then budget accordingly, then it each one provides in and of itself. So just living off of the sale of eggs, that's going to be tough. But if you are able to get your hands on some meat birds and be able to learn how to process some meat chickens, and those have a very good profit margin
Yeah.
on say learning how to do some poultry for yourself and then maybe do another batch to pay for them.
Yeah. And the planning that goes into all of it is just so very important.
It is.
Down to things like, okay, I can process my own chickens on my farm. That's actually true. There is an exemption to the laws
Mhm.
of this nation, at least in the United States, that allows for on-farm processing of poultry.
Right.
You still have to apply for that exemption,
Right.
and somebody has to come to the farm,
Mhm.
and you have to get that exemption. And right, like
Right.
it's not just,
There's
well, I
still
want to do
process.
this.
Right.
There's still some planning and processes that go into it. For us here in Missouri, we want to sell eggs. Okay, you still have to have an egg license. It's
Right.
cheap. It's only $5
Right.
for the year, but you still have to get that license. And where are you selling your eggs?
Yeah.
Well, I'll take them to the farmer's market. Okay. Well, you have to get a booth at the farmer's market. How much does the booth cost you? How do you get to the farmers? Like there's so much planning that goes into it that I think it's just important to talk about and to think about before I'm homesteading,
Right.
right? And then as we were looking at it and said, I think in order to get to, can it pay for itself? We've got to increase, not just stacking it, we have to increase the amount
Yeah,
that we're
we
doing.
realized we were going to have to scale up a bit on
All
everything,
of it.
on all of it, in order to be able for it to pay for itself. It was going to require more, actually. So if you're homesteading and you want to grow one pig for yourself, well, you buy the food and feed the pig, and then the pig feeds you. So your cost into it is the piglet and the food that you put into it,
Right.
whatever that may be. Okay, well, I would like it to pay for itself. Well, it's brought your grocery bill down. You were going to pay for that anyway, maybe. But let's say, hey, add one to it. We're going to scale up. We're going to double. Instead of doing one, I'm going to do two. I'm going to do two pigs. And I'm going to sell this other one over here as a whole hog to our friends. And that is going to offset some of the cost from ours. Good deal. Is it still paying for itself? Nah, not quite yet. But if I added a third one, because I got to go feed two of them anyway, if I added a third one, not a whole lot of food extra there. The next year, if I added a third one, can it make me profitable in my pork? Maybe. And every time we realized, every time we scaled in that direction, if we, one, grew a few more animals since we were going to go do that chore anyway, and then two, instead of selling the wholes, if we could break it out into parts, then we knew we could command a better price. And we saw that this year big time in our chickens.
Yeah.
So if you sell a whole chicken for, say, $20, you can do that, or take the 3 minutes.
Yeah, we had it down to 3 minutes.
Take that 3 minutes and cut that chicken up. And now you've added value to that bird, and you can sell it instead of $20, you can probably sell that whole entire bunch of meat right there for $35. And now you've increased your profit margin significantly. So as you are thinking of the homestead that you want to build, remember scale is huge and value adding. Every time you can break something down even further, it adds another dollar of value plus onto that item.
So looking at our farm, let's start from our daily producers and work our way up through our, every 3 year producers. So our dailies, we've been talking about eggs. That's a daily producer for us. We have about 80 layers right now. We're bringing in somewhere between 5 and 6 dozen eggs a day. So with that, we are going to be able to, the eggs, if we're able to sell them, farmers market is starting Saturday. So if we're able to sell our eggs, then the eggs will definitely pay for the feed, and it will start adding a small amount of income in to the whole
Right.
bank account.
Costco, other merchandise people call it their loss leader.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what eggs are to us. We don't lose, but everybody loves eggs and they really love farm fresh eggs. So having them available is important whenever you're selling farm food off of your farm or your homestead. Eggs are that item.
Yeah.
Everybody wants eggs.
I would highly encourage, though, to have some reason to buy your eggs. Some people you do like Easter eggers for their chickens, so that the eggs are just pretty. They're beautiful. They're,
Right.
But I would encourage something
organic.
Yeah.
GMO free.
Yep.
Pasture raised. Do something that's different than what they can get in a box store.
Yeah.
The fact that they're just outside is already different.
That's great.
The fact that they didn't come from a cage
Farm
is
fresh.
already different.
Call it local.
Local. Be local.
Make that your thing.
Be special.
Be special somehow.
Right.
Our next daily is our raw A2A2 full cream Jersey milk. Sold
in glass jars, not plastic.
GMO free.
GMO free. So it's pretty specialty, and it's in high demand.
Yeah.
Very high demand. And it commands a good price because it is.
And last year we had 2 cows in milk. One of them got sick and had to be put down. So we're down to 1 in milk right now. Last year we had 2 cows in milk, and with the 2 of them at that scale, they paid for themselves.
More than.
They more than pay for themselves. So now the eggs are paying for themselves plus some. The milk with 2 cows paid for itself plus some.
So for them at their height, they get a little bit of GMO free grain while they're eating. We do that on purpose.
5 to 6 pounds a day. We're registered with Eat Wild as well as the
raw milk.
The
rawmilk.org.
Yeah.
Real milk.
Milk.
Realmilk.org, I think.
And with those, we're looking at 5 to 6 pounds of GMO free feed per day.
So that's what they get whenever when they're milking. And what the cost on, let's go with 5 pounds.
Of feed? It's somewhere around 35 cents a pound. So you're looking at about $2.
So each of them is getting $2 worth of grain. And when we're but they're giving, when we only milk once a day, they were giving 2 gallons of milk. Each. So let's just whole numbers. You have $4 in the milk. You bring in 4 gallons of milk. And we sell a gallon at $8 per gallon.
Correct.
So with $4 going into them, and you're bringing in the house $32 worth of milk, that's huge.
Right.
And they're on grass other than that.
Right.
And hay in the winter.
Some hay. Yeah. So the
point being,
no matter
the the milk margin is really good
Yeah.
on the inputs.
Yeah. So if we step away from our daily producers, the next, as far as timing goes, the next would be our beef chickens, we call them, our meat birds, our broilers, whatever however you want to refer to them. They are every 8 weeks. So we bring them onto the farm. We pay for them as day-old chicks in the mail, and then we feed them for 8 weeks, and then we process them here on farm. We learned very quickly after the first time we processed them that we did not want to hand pluck. So we
Nope.
invested in, sort of like we didn't mention it with the dairy cows, but we learned very quickly that we didn't want to hand milk.
No, we don't have milk.
So we bought a milking machine. It has to be included in the costs. Same thing with the beef chickens was we very quickly learned we do not want to hand pluck these things. So
No.
we bought ourselves a scalder that we didn't have to be babysitting a propane tank and a turkey fryer.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought ourselves a scalder and a plucker because we were not at the scale we wanted to go to.
Mm-hmm.
We knew we didn't want to hand pluck.
Mm-hmm.
So talk through the chickens a bit.
So the very first batch of chickens that we did just for ourselves. We did one chicken tractor full, and we realized, wow, that's really amazing. It worked out great. Next year we're going to do
More.
And so we did do more. We did 4 batches
Yeah.
of chickens.
Yeah. We added a
This
fifth
last year.
in, but it didn't work out
we
too
don't have to talk about
well.
that one.
Yeah.
So we did 4 batches of chickens, and that worked out really good. And we sold basically all of our chickens, all of our cut up chicken, and we realized, wow, these guys actually can hold their own as far as profitability is concerned. And continuing on our scaling this year, we've almost doubled what we did last year. That is in the plan, to see if we can stop having to say, I'm sorry, we're sold out. So in order to keep chicken in the freezer, we're going to do 11 batches of chickens this year, but they're smaller batches. And one thing that we learned last year was cutting them up was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the chickens, you've got the cost of the little bird and then the cost of the feed. Obviously, we've already talked about the plucker. You have to build the chicken tractor or whatever you're going to keep them in outside, and you have to build a brooder or whatever you're going to keep them in when they're tiny. But those one-time costs can be then, spread across however many batches that you're able to use that thing for.
Mm-hmm.
So the meat chickens, our beef chickens, they really are one of the ones that brings in the money for the farm. So, it's not a whole lot of input into them. And then you get quite a bit out of them. So they eat, I believe it's about a pound a week. It's just under that. And the chicken food, our non-GMO chicken feed is somewhere around 35 cents a pound.
Right.
So, the cost of the bird is somewhere around $3.50. The cost of the feed is somewhere around $6-7 because it's GMO free. So you've got somewhere in the $10 range into the chicken. And then you have to determine what your market in your area will support as far as now what you can get for that bird. What is what is your profit for raising the bird, for processing the bird, for doing all of those things?
Mm-hmm.
So stepping up from the chickens every 8 weeks, I would say we're go then to our pork, which is every 6 months is how we do it. We do a spring batch and a fall batch, and we've learned to break each of those then into 2 smaller batches. So in the spring, we will have 2 trips to the processor. In the fall, we will have 2 trips to the processor. And for us, the scale up was 10 hogs per batch. Once we went all the way up to 17, and that was too big. We
It's just
really,
too many.
yeah, it was too many for us, just handling wise. We believe that 10 is
And we
really,
we went real specialty on that too. One of
yep.
the things that we have done with it is we decided we do want heritage pork. We use the Berkshire breed, so it has a nice marbling in the actual muscles itself, and it's delicious. Another thing that we've done with it is we feed them non-GMO feed as well. They don't get any kind of vaccinations. They don't get any sort of anything in them outside of non-GMO fermented feed. And yes, we ferment it. So all of their feed for those 10 or 20 hogs all year, we take a certain amount, many pounds of feed, we add water to it, and it sits for 3 to 7 days and gets all nice and happy, and the pigs love it. But it is labor intensive because it's heavy. It has to be hauled. It has to be made. We need to make pig feed, by the way.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
That's
true.
our it's a constant ongoing thing, making sure that the pig feed is made. They do not have access to feed 24/7. They are hand fed twice a day so that we know exactly what's going into them and how much they're eating. We don't want them over fat. We want them to grow at a specific pace and then to convert and yield a specific amount of fat and meat. And it's working really, really well. But that's a specialty item. And you can command, again, a more premium price whenever you have a specialty item.
Yeah, so the specialty on the pork is it's a heritage breed, Berkshire.
Hmm.
It's a marbled meat, which
Hmm.
is a richer, more flavorful meat. It's raised in our forest, so it's called forested pork,
Hmm.
and it's fed a GMO-free food.
Right.
We didn't talk about the beef chickens. They're GMO-free, pasture raised.
Right.
Are there like specialty
Yes.
items?
Yeah. So again, make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, differentiate yourself from the box store somehow or another. Find yourself a little niche and stick with it.
Even if it's just local or farm raised or whatever it is,
Right.
find that talking point, and then that becomes your talking point.
Right.
For us, it's really GMO free.
Yes.
It's really that it's raised outside on our ground, be it pastured or forested or whatever. Like those are our real talking
And
points.
we don't put any chemicals on our
Right.
property
Yeah.
of any sort. So they are as free of the chemicals as we can possibly make it.
Yep. So then stepping up then from pork is our lamb.
Oh, bacon. I didn't say. The bacon is
Oh
amazing.
yeah, yeah, it is
Amazing.
And jowl bacon, y'all.
Jowl bacon.
Trust me.
It's so good. Anyway, I just had to add that.
Yeah. So then we go to
Lamb.
Sheep have been a difficult learning process for us.
Yep.
Of all of the animals, they've been the hardest
Yep.
for us to learn. It as far as animal husbandry, there's a lot there with sheep,
Mhm.
and it just is what it is. It's a learning process.
Mhm.
One of the things that we learned is on our property, on our land, on our pastures, at the scale that we're wanting to operate, we supplement our sheep. We give them some feed.
Mhm.
The lamb that we take to the processor that we sell as food, they are all fed GMO-free feed, just like the rest of our products that we sell. That if it eats feed, it's GMO-free.
Right.
So the lamb, we lamb once a year.
Mhm.
Right now, we're in the process of lambing
Right now.
right now, and then we take those lambs to the processor. Depending on how quickly they're growing, either just before or just after deer season.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Is how it
Yeah,
works
that's
out.
right.
So
October,
our
December timeframe.
yeah, our processor closes for us in the month of November for about 6 weeks,
Mhm.
starting November the 1st. So this past year, we took about 5 lambs in October, and then we took 10 more in December.
I'd like to talk about a couple of reasons to have lamb if you have a homestead or a small farm
Yeah.
and have sheep. They We don't eat a whole lot of lamb in the United States, but I think it's making a comeback, and I would like to be part of that comeback.
And I think it's really silly that we don't.
It is absolutely silly.
It is some amazing food.
It is. It not only is it delicious, but it also is so nutritious. It has everything that the human body needs in that meat. And we're going to bring it back. Also, they do an amazing thing on your property. So what they eat and coming out the back end of that thing is they fertilize our property better than any of, well, except for the chicken tractor where it
Yeah.
goes. That's different. But as far as yes, the cows do a great job too, but the sheep, that ruminant pee and poop is phenomenal for adding the biology back to your
Yeah,
land.
if you look at it, there's more nitrogen in sheep poop than there is in cow poop.
And
there's less poop because
Yeah.
they're a smaller animal, but there's more nitrogen in it.
And it does amazing. So they do a good job mowing, they do a good job of fertilizing, and they're easy. They are easy to handle.
Let's talk one thing. When you say that you're eating lamb, I think people think about that little Easter picture of that thing that's, like this
Teeny tiny little lamb.
tiny, like almost like veal. I think that's what people picture is that. And y'all, that isn't it.
It could not be further from that.
No, these are like
Full size.
Yeah, 100+ pound sheep,
Right.
that are less than a year old.
Yep.
That's it. So our guys are anywhere from 6 to 10 months old when they get processed. Full size, they just look like sheep. They don't look like this little baby lamb thing.
No.
But that was.
I had that in my mind too, but that is not true. They are full size, and their carcass looks like a small deer.
Yeah,
really, is what it looks like.
Absolutely. So the sheep, the input costs with those guys is obviously the cost of the animal initially, which, depending again, where are you and such, you're looking somewhere around $200 to $300 for a ewe. And then depending on what ram you get, we got registered rams and we raise Katahdin hair sheep. Our rams were somewhere between $500 and $600, like $550.
Sheep are, as far as that type of animal, the mid-size, they're a fairly low barrier to entry.
Yeah.
And to be able to start learning animal husbandry, because first of all, they're not that expensive, and then you can handle them.
Yeah.
You don't need very large facilities in order to be able to have a few sheep.
Right, and you can see that. Watch the video that we did with Kevin and Sarah from Living Traditions Homestead, and you can see us handling the sheep. And they are easy to handle, easy to learn how to do things like hooves and stuff. A longer learning process as far as just keeping them healthy and learning.
Yeah, they have some specific needs that you have to attend to.
Yeah,
sheep
and we've did a podcast a long time ago about the sheep and just learning how to take care of them on our land really took a while.
Yeah.
So and then you have whatever feed that you're going to feed them is an input as well.
Maybe
with
some mineral and some
with
salt.
those guys. Oh, we didn't talk about the cost of the pig food. The pig feed, I think we're averaging somewhere around 25 cents a pound, and the pigs eat average 6 pounds a day. Their time here on the farm, they're here on the farm for 180 days. You can do the math on what that costs. The sheep food is the GMO-free feed that we feed the lamb is in the 32-ish, I believe, cents per pound. And these are all bulk prices. We buy by the ton in huge bags, huge totes.
Yeah.
So
we get to get our costs down as low as we can, as most.
And the sheep, we feed them about 2 pounds of GMO-free food per sheep, per lamb that we're feeding out per
per
day.
day.
So, that 2 pounds is what, 60, 70 cents
And we
about
didn't
a
want to
day.
put all of those inputs into them because every time you put money into your animal on your homestead or your farm, that's taking money out of your pocket. But when we were having such losses, first of all, you got to feed pigs, and then but
Yeah.
on the other ones, when it's specifically talking about the lambs, we were having such losses because our land here, this particular spot on earth, was not supporting them. We just kind of had to cut that loss and say, in order for us to stop losing
The lamb.
the lamb, we're going to have to supplement differently and put the cost in and then hope for a better return at the end. And we have found that to be absolutely true.
We do.
Yep, it has cost us a little bit more. We don't make as much money, but when you were losing like we were losing, we had to do something different. And it has worked. And well, just do grass. It just didn't work.
Not for
I
us,
hope it
not here.
does for you. I really, really do.
I hope it does for us at
At
some
some
point.
point, that is our
If
goal.
we can recover our pastures.
We're regenerating and recovering our pastures. And if time goes by and we see that, man, this will support them now, then that's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's our ultimate goal.
Yep. And I got a bit discombobulated. We didn't even, with the pigs, we didn't really talk about it, but the pigs are covering their cost.
Oh, yes, they
So
are.
they pay for themselves. We're selling our pork by the cut. It's USDA inspected. We take it to a processor. It's USDA inspected, sold by the cut, mainly at the farmer's market. We have some online sales and some just direct consumers contact us through the website and we deliver it to them. We do some shipping, but mainly through the farmer's market is where we sell the pork. And by making it specialty, we're able to ask more than what you would get at Walmart. And the pigs are paying for themselves plus a little bit. The lamb, even with the input of the GMO-free feed, we're finding that the lamb, they are paying for themselves plus a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So far, everything that we've talked about at the scale at which we're doing it is paying for itself plus a little bit. And I'll tell you the numbers of each of our animals as we've wrapped this up. That brings us to our beef cows.
Takers.
So the beef cows
Takers.
are,
Our love.
we love them. But from the time the cow gets pregnant to the time that animal is sold as a pack of hamburger is a long time. It's probably 3 years.
About 3 years.
3 years plus.
Plus.
So somewhere in that 3-year range. So
Yeah, I would
as
say
far
4
as-
years, really.
as far as timing is concerned, because we're grass only totally with the beef.
Yeah, beef, they don't get any kind of grain. They get grass or hay only and mineral. We have a breed that is
Great grass genetics,
grass genetics.
but it takes a while to grow them out. So
Yeah.
we're 3 years, let's just say 3 years plus on a beef.
Yeah.
The beef now, you have the cost of the cattle initially, which okay, got it, is what it is. And then you have the cost for us of hay in the wintertime because our pastures at the scale with which we're wanting to produce beef, our pastures, we cannot just stockpile enough and support our herd over the wintertime. We can't do that.
We winter pasture them ish. We put them in a spot that we want to fix.
Yeah.
And we feed them there.
Heavily impacted with hay and their impact. So the cost for those guys really is hay, and then the supplements like minerals, and if we need to add like a protein tub or something like that, that's their input cost. So that it would seem the cost isn't very big on the beef guys, but the hay is expensive. And
it wasn't when we started, but it is now.
It has doubled in price from what it was when we when we started the farm.
Yeah.
So hay's pretty expensive. It's over the 3 winters that we've done this. Well, take out the first winter because the hay prices were low then. The past 2 winters, we're averaging just over $10,000 in hay. And we are not getting anywhere near that in the amount of beef that we're producing with the size of herd that we have. We have 26 total beef cows out there, and that is a bull, and I think there's 6 mamas and about 4 or 5 heifers, and then the rest of them are steers growing out in
Yearlings and
various stages,
yep.
yearlings and such. So the beef cows are not coming close to paying for themselves.
So our beef cows, as at current, do not make business sense.
And that's when we started this conversation. I said, there are some things that we do here instead. And this is one of our insteads. And it doesn't make sense as a homestead solely because it's too big. There's too many. It doesn't make sense as a farm because it's not big enough.
They're not. Yeah, there's not
There's
enough
too
of them.
few of our beef cattle to turn a profit as far as beef is concerned.
Right.
This is one that we're making an instead decision. Our beef is food security.
That's true. Yeah. We've decided to put that we're investing what we're putting into the hay and what we're putting into that beef is into our future, our food security, because it is a long-term thing that we can have, and having real food walking around out there on the hoof and the ability to make more. And a cow or a cattle, a beef produces a lot of meat for a family. One lasts an entire year.
Yeah.
And to have that spread out over the course of time is important to us for food security.
Right. So with our 26 that we've got out there, we're able to process a couple of beef cattle each year. And the beef cows do not pay for themselves.
Not yet.
So now if we wrap all of this up, what we end up with was we stepped you through all of these animals that pay for themselves plus add a little bit, and then the beef cows that don't pay for themselves. How does that come out in the wash? So if you don't consider all of the other things that a business costs, the tractor and the fuel and the electricity and the freezers and we're not going to consider that at all. We'll just set all of that aside. We'll just say the cost of the animals and the inputs to keep those animals alive and processed to get them into somebody's freezer. With those costs, our year in 2023, so 2023, second year in, we were at basically a break-even point.
Yeah. We pretty much broke even last year.
Yeah, we were right at $50,000 of revenue and input costs. So it was a break-even year for us.
One of the things about building something like this, homestead or farmstead, and we had mentioned a couple of times, direct marketing. We sell straight to the consumer. It's all farm to table. We don't have a middle guy. Having to learn and build that aspect of the business, because it's fun to produce, but you've also got to sell, and learning how to sell and set up the website. And that is a very important part of it. And year 2 was our year to really focus on the farmer's market. Last year we really focused on the farmer's market. We did not miss one Saturday, and we probably won't miss. Well, we may take a vacation. I don't know, but we will be at the Ava Farmers Market in Ava, Missouri, every Saturday, starting this coming Saturday until
So the first Saturday in April through the
Uh,
last Saturday in October.
right. And it was our year to really focus on that. And we did the majority of all of our business at the Ava Farmers Market.
Right.
And I look I really look forward to it starting up again because we get cash flow coming back in.
Right.
And as a homestead or farmstead, cash flow is what you need. You have to keep that cash flow coming in, milk, eggs, chicken. We talked about stacking it. It's all about cash flow because it's so money intensive. You have to have money to buy the feed, so you've got to keep the cash coming back in. Well, we've been kind of winter.
Mm.
It's been winter, and so with the market opening back up next week, our cash flow is going to start coming back in. And we know after building that last year and that clientele, the customers coming back to us every single Saturday, that when we show up, I know year 3 is going to be so much better than even year 2 was.
Yeah, we're starting with a customer base now,
Yeah.
right? The last year we started without a customer base.
Right.
And so this year we've already talked to people that are looking forward
Right.
to the market starting back up. So
Right.
starting with customers, I think is going to be huge.
So, yes, it's absolutely huge. Whenever we show up and they see our booth, here they come. I know that. Uh, so we talked about having something special with the
Yeah.
non-GMO, and
Oh, we didn't mention that with the beef though. It's a heritage breed, grass only.
yeah,
That's the
period.
biggest thing with the beef
Right.
is call it grass fed, grass finished, call it whatever you want.
Right.
And I know there's like debates and will a grass seed is actually grain and okay, I got it.
Yeah.
They eat grass. That's
Yes.
all they eat. We don't feed them any corn, right?
Right.
Like they
Right.
eat grass.
Yeah. So having that specialty is really important. And another thing that has been important is consistency. If you're going to sell your things off of your homestead, being consistent in what you're offering your customers, being consistent in showing up, and uh, get them to know who you are, like who you are, and then they can trust you about their food because you're growing their food, right? Or the plant, and you really want them to want to come back, know you, like you, and trust you. And your consistency in showing up at the farmers markets or where even if it's getting your stuff in the mail from your Etsy shop, do that thing so that they want to keep coming back to you. It's really important to be professional, be consistent, and be somewhat likable.
Yeah. So
Don't be a grumpy butt.
our production numbers last year, just rough numbers, we did about 4,000 pounds of pork, 2,000 pounds of beef, 1,500 pounds of chicken, 1,000 pounds of lamb, 750 dozen eggs, and 1,200 gallons of milk. That was our production numbers from last year. So at those numbers, that's what it took for us to get to, as far as scale is concerned, to get to a break-even point. We hope to do better this year, more sales.
Yeah.
This may be the year that the revenue exceeds the input costs. Year
It will
3,
be.
that'd be an amazing thing for
Mhm.
us to do, and then we would be able to answer the question, can it pay for itself? With
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we have
It
found
will.
a scale
Mhm.
and have gotten everything together enough
Mhm.
and built the clientele, the customer base,
Mhm.
and the marketing, and like we've got everything worked out. So I think the answer is going to be yeah, it can pay for itself. We've gotten it scaled right so that it can, but
There's more to it. Always. And it's work. All of it's work. It's going to be work. You're going to work. We're going to work. Whether we work for someone else, whether we work for ourselves, whether it's outside doing chores or what, you got to do things. We're going to have to work. It's just a matter of where do we want to do that?
yeah, we encourage you.
Oh, so much.
This lifestyle that we're living, this instead life that we're living, is awesome. It is amazing. I I I can't tell you how much fun we're having here. There are hard times, sure. There's a lot of work, sure. But this lifestyle is awesome. Please, please consider it.
Oh, 100%
Go into it with your eyes wide open
open, wide open.
about the amount of work, though, and the costs that are involved in it. Please don't be surprised.
Right.
Go plan for it. It is amazing.
If you have any other questions for us, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. We love to answer the questions, whether it's about money or how we do things or what we stacked when we stacked it and all of that. If you have homesteading questions specific, or if you know somebody else in the comments section that also has a homestead or something, ask them and get the conversation flowing, because together is how we actually make these things happen. So I would just like to leave with a quote.
Okay.
Henry David Thoreau said something really wise at one point, and I think it's really apropos to homesteading.
Okay.
The price of anything is the amount of life you're willing to exchange for it. So everything costs something, and how much are we going to put into it? If it's a dream of ours, we're just gonna have to go get it.
And when we made this decision to do this lifestyle, I think that was the biggest driver in the decision, was the price of continuing to do the job that I was doing, to continue in that life. The price was too high. I was not willing to pay any more of my life doing that. I wanted to have my life with my family. And so that was the price, the cost, the price got too high.